Most beginners to piano improvisation make this one mistake. This is the reason why your piano improvisations may sound clunky, not flowing, or maybe completely unsure. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly what that mistake is in your right hand and how to fix it. In these easy ways, at the end of this video, you will be playing a beautiful chord progression in the key of G major and sound confident and lovely right away. Hi, my name's Rebecca and welcome to my music studio. I have a passion for teaching people things that they may never have learned from their piano teacher growing up. Or if you've never had piano, this is a great place to start. In my last video, we discussed the left hand and different left hand patterns for playing in the key of G major. We're going to continue on with that today, and we're going to be talking about the right hand. In the right hand, people get very overwhelmed because there's so much that you can choose to do in your right hand that it becomes so overwhelming you can't choose anything. So I'm going to show you some different patterns in your right hand that you can use just within a 5-finger pattern. It's going to make you sound so confident and it's going to be absolutely beautiful. Let me know in the comments below if the right hand is something that you struggle with. For years, I was never taught how to play the piano just by sitting down and making beautiful music. If I didn't have something memorized, I would absolutely freeze and I felt like I couldn't play the piano, even though I had piano lessons for years, which was really sad. So I don't want you to have to experience that. That's why I'm here. Let me know in the comments below if I'm the only one or if this is something that you have struggled with as well. If you're interested in learning more about how to improvise on the piano or make beautiful music every time you sit down to play, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Let's go over to the piano. I'd love to show you this beautiful chord progression in the key of G major.
First things first, let's talk about the key of G major. So as we know, the key of C major goes between C and C and has no black notes. So for the key of G major, you start on a G. I'll start here at this one. And there's only going to be one sharp. So the sharp is one note that is directly to the right of whatever note that we said. So the only note that we're going to have a sharp on is an F. So instead of playing an F, the note directly to the right of it is this black one, and that is F sharp. So when we're playing the G major scale, we're going to start on G, play all the notes up until we get to the F, skip the white F, play the F sharp, and then the G, and go back down. So we're always going to start with a scale whenever we start improvising. It teaches our ears and it teaches our hands which notes to play. Now, when you play the scale, you do not have to use the proper scale fingering, but you can if you want to. So for now, I'm just going to use one finger. So let's play the G major scale. Skip the F, play F sharp, and then come back down. We're now going to look at the left-hand chord pattern. Now, I'm going to start them off in triad form, but then we're going to go into a representative pattern. So the first chord is a G major chord, GBD. Then we're going to our fourth note, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is our C, to a C major chord. Then we're going to a minor 2, which is built on the second note of the scale, the A. A, C, E is an A minor. The 2 chord very often goes to the 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is our D major chord with our F sharp, and then we're going to end on our G. So let's try all of those triads, and right now your hand is going to be popping around a little bit, but that's okay. We're just kind of getting this in our head as we go. So we go from a G major chord to C major, A minor, D major, and G major. And remember that all chord progressions are looping. They are meant to be looped. So you don't just have to go through it one time and be finished. If you wanted to go through 1 or 2 times, then that would be a really great chord progression and a very short little practice time. But if you wanted to make this into a longer song, you can absolutely do that. Loop it as many times as you want to. As long as you end on the 1 chord, it's going to sound like a complete song. Now that we know our chord progression, we're going to put this into a pattern of a representative chord instead of doing the stacked chords. Now you absolutely can do stacked chords every single time, but I don't like the sound of how clunky that sounds. If you want to check out some different left hand patterns other than these two that we mentioned, check out this video where I go through 5 of the easiest and most important left hand patterns that I believe that a beginner should know how to do. And then you can incorporate those into any of your improvisations. Let's go ahead and make an octave with our G. So we have G on the bottom, and then we're going to put a G on the top. And then your 2 finger will be hovering right over the 5th of the chords. So you can absolutely do a 4-note chord, but as a beginner, that's pretty tough. So we just take out that 3rd, and it makes it a little bit easier. So we have a G, and then a C, an A, a D, and then a G. Now, a lot of times people ask me about the rhythm that I'm doing in the left hand. And what we're going to try for right now is we're going to think in 4/4 times. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And on our left hand, we're going to arpeggiate them. So instead of holding it down like this, we're going to start at the bottom, and we are going to play the notes individually. Because we're in 4/4, we're going to do it like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Pretty good understanding of what your left hand is doing at this point. And now we're going to get both hands together. Now this is just a step. I do this in almost all of my videos where we are going to be alternating our hands. We're going to do 1 beat in the left hand and 3 beats in the right hand. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to bring, this is middle C here. I'm going to put our representative G chord down here just so we don't run into the right hand. And then you're going to put 5 fingers on the first 5 notes of G major. So G, A, B, C, and D. So good news is that within that 5-note pattern, there is no F sharp, so we only have to worry about the white notes. So we'll do 1 beat. Let's hold them down this time. 1 beat here, and then 3 beats of any of those notes in the right hand. So let's give this a try. C, A minor, D, and then end on G. So that shouldn't take you very long to combine both of those in an alternating fashion. So then after you've done alternating, we're now going to do the next step of playing all 4 beats at the same time and changing up the rhythm in the right hand side. So for right now, we're still just holding this down. So this time we're going to hold down the representative chord for 4 beats. And then in the right hand, you're going to allow your hand to do anything that it wants. So it could sound something like this. And if that was pretty tough, or you want to try something faster or slower, go ahead and do that. There are no rules when it comes to improv. You just get to try things out and see if you like them. If you don't like it, it's no problem. Do it again. That's what I love. I mentioned at the beginning that a lot of people try to go too quickly into adding every note in the scale. And that is something that is available to you to do any note within the G major scale. But at first, we don't want to overwhelm ourselves. We want to give you certain patterns so that as you try them, you realize that these can be employed in our beautiful song. So this time, I'm going to give you just a few different patterns that you can try with your right hand. The first thing is I want you to start thinking of your hand in 5 fingers. It's not going to be hard because we have 5 fingers. So within those 5 fingers, you're going to think of your thumb as the anchor for each of the chords. So I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to start with a G chord. So the G is our number 1. So I want you to hit that G chord with your thumb. Then we're going to go to a C chord, and we're going to move our thumb down to the C. And you notice that the rest of my fingers just move along with me. I don't keep the rest of them up here while I am moving my thumb. Okay, they all came along with me. Then we go to an A. Play that with your thumb. And then we go to a D. And you'll notice that my 3rd finger popped up to this F sharp. okay? Because we have to remember we do not ever play F. So we don't want to have to worry about that F. We have the 3 finger on the F sharp if we're going to play that, and then we're back to G. Okay, so now that you realize where our hand is moving to, I want you to now think of 1 and 5, your thumb and your pinky. So wherever your hand lands, we're going to now play the 1 and the 5 and go back and forth like this. So this is our G chord, and now we're going down to our C chord. 1 and 5. And now we're going to our A minor chord, 1 and 5. Then to our D, it's D and A, and then to G. All right, so we're going to put this together with our left hand pattern right now. And now I'm going to do the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's going to sound like this. Move. To our G. So once you get that feeling, I'm now going to change up the rhythm. So the only thing that I am changing in the right hand is the rhythm. So I can sometimes hold for extra beats, or hold this one, or sometimes I can do this together. So it can sound something like this. So already it's beginning to sound like a song with only using the 1 finger and the 5 finger. So play around with that, play around with different rhythms, and then when you're ready, we'll go on to the next pattern in our right hand. Now that we understand the movement of our hands and the fact that the thumb is the anchor for all of our chords, we're now going to give you one other additional piece of information, which is to use 4 of your notes now. So I want you to think of your number 4 finger as the forbidden note. This is the note that never plays right now. So we're doing 1, 2, 3, and 5. So all we're doing within our improvisation is hitting any of the 1, 2, 3, and 5 in any rhythm or order that you want. So it doesn't have to be individual notes either. It can be notes together as long as the number 4 doesn't play, and it's going to sound great every single time. So now let's put that together where you are doing 1, 2, 3, and 5 for any of those chords. So if you combine both of those things, now you have use of 1 and 5 or 1, 2, 3, and 5. It's just kind of a hidden little trick that is amazing. It has come time now to talk about inversions. So all inversions is when you take a chord like the G major chord, and instead of playing it with a G, B, and D in that order, you can play it in any order that you want. So you can take the G off the bottom, you can place that at the top, or you can take the B off the bottom and place that at the top, or back to the root position. So the root position is that stacked 3rd and 5th that we started with. And then when you take the G off the bottom and put that at the top, that's the first inversion. And then the B on the top is the second inversion. So the first thing I want you to do is go through all of your inversions for the different chords in our chord progression. So we have our G, and then come back down. Now go to your C, and come back down. A minor, to D, and then we're back to our G. Okay, so now that we've done those different inversions, I want you to put our left hand pattern with it, and we're going to still stick with the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and. So what we're going to do is play all of those different inversions with our left hand pattern to get used to our hands moving around and feeling those different shapes of the chords. And then we're going to hold that for 4, then go to our next one, our C. 1, 2, 3, go to A minor. 1, 2, 3, go to D. And then to G. So all of those different chords and inversions can then be choices to use in your improvisation. Now, when you become really adept at improvising with a chord progression, it will be very easy on the fly to pick which inversion that you're going to use at a specific time. But because you're probably not used to doing this, right now we're going to make some choices, and I'm going to show you how I go about making those choices so that my hand doesn't have to be popping all over. And this is kind of something that the more you do, the easier it's going to be. All right, so let's go ahead and begin with this inversion of our G chord with the G on the top. And the reason that I'm choosing this one for this moment is because I know that a C chord is coming up. Okay, so we have our G, and then we have a C chord. The notes are C, E, and G. We already have a G down, so we want to keep this one. And then we have C and E right next to it. So you see how our hands don't really have to move that far. Okay, so then we have an A minor, and the notes for A minor are A, C, E. So we have C, E, and we only need an A. So we have two choices. We can either go down here, or we can move up to this one, which is what I'm going to choose, because then your hand doesn't have to move anything except for the pinky. So we're going from our root position, C, to our A minor. So let's look at that whole thing in order again. G chord, C chord, A minor, and now we're going to a D, which is D, F sharp, and A. We have A down already, and we have a D and an F sharp right next to our C chord. And then for our final G chord, we have two different choices. We have G, B, and D. We can move everything to here, which is where we started, or we can move to this one, which is what I think I'm going to do, just to give it a different sound. Okay, so let's do the whole thing in order. G, C, A minor, D, G. All right, so let's go ahead and put this together with our left hand. Same pattern. All right, here we go. So once you understand those movements of what we have chosen, and you can either do mine or pick totally different things for yourself, we're now going to use the same rhythm pattern in our left hand, but our right hand, we're going to use those chords and we're going to arpeggiate them. Arpeggiation just means playing the notes in the chord individually instead of playing them together. So you can start at the bottom and go to the top. You can start at the top and go to the bottom, or any combination. So the only thing that I changed was arpeggiating the chords instead of hitting them individually. So try different combinations and see how you do. Or if you don't like the combination of the inversions that we did, change it up. So that's the only thing that's happening in our hand with our inversions. Now the next step is to start adding notes that are around it as passing tones. And this is the part that is the most difficult to explain, but the more you do it, the easier it's going to become. But I'm going to try to explain it right now. So we're going to keep the same order of our chords that we just did with our inversions. Only instead of playing just 3 notes, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes available to us. But I'm going to show you what they are. So it's not always going to be your fingers sitting in like this, where it's 1 note per finger. So the first thing I want you to do is to make the 3-note chord. So our G chord was here. So the only 2 fingers that are not playing right now are my middle finger and my 4th finger. Okay, so it's number 3 and number 4. If they are hovering above other notes, the notes that in this position they're hovering above are the E and the F sharp. So if we put them in order and played a 5-finger pattern, it would be like this. Okay, so we don't ever play all of them together, but that is where these 2 other notes come from. All right, then let's go to our C. That was our stacked pattern C. Okay, so for this one, we have our 2-finger and our 4-finger available. 2-finger is hovering over D, 4-finger is hovering over F sharp. So here's our 5-finger position for this one. And then for our A minor, we chose this one. We have 3 hovering over F sharp and 4 over G. And then our D, and we have our regular 5-finger position for this one. And then we took this G, we have 2 hovering over F sharp, 4 hovering over A. So those other notes where your 2 fingers were hovering over a note, those are called your passing tones. That's where they come from. We're not just randomly grabbing a note from the scale. We're using our brains to think of those 5 fingers as usable notes in our melody. So now we're going to put it hands together using those passing tones. And this means that anything between any of those inversions can be used at the same time and in any order that we want. So now that you understand what my hand is doing, it becomes a little less confusing. There will be more happening in my right hand, but really it's just those 5 fingers. Let's give this a shot. So now were you able to follow that, where those other extra notes came from? I want to give you another example of this. I'm going to do the same exact thing, but it's not going to sound exactly the same because this is not something that's written down. This is something that I'm doing on the fly. I'm going to show you that you can make a song sound completely different just by changing up things like speed. So I'm going to slow down a little bit and show you how slowing it down and making it more contemplative is going to change everything. But I'm not moving my hand from any of those choices that we made. So this time, I'm going to actually hold each of these chords for 2 measures. So 8 beats total instead of 4 beats. That's a way to change up your chord progression so that it lasts a little bit longer. So this time I'll do 8 beats in my left hand. I'm going to keep the same exact patterns with my right hand, but I'm going to slow everything down. And let's see how it sounds a little bit different. So that sounds totally different, but it was the same choices as far as inversions that we were making before. Now, just a reminder that all of my videos go from simpler to more complex. So this is going to be, once you have mastered those steps of those inversion patterns with your 5 fingers, and you have tried them out and you don't feel nervous or scared about moving to something else. Once you have done that, it is time to move on to this next step. Now, we're going to remind ourselves of what the pattern of the scale is. Okay, so you might want to try that a few times just to get that in your fingers. I would do it with my left hand as well, just to get that in my fingers as well. And so now what we're doing is, instead of saying that I'm going to just give you the whole scale and you get to play within the scale, which is absolutely a true statement, you do. You get to pick any notes that you want within the scale. Really what's happening is you're doing it by chords. Okay, so originally we picked this inversion of our G to start. But now I want you to start thinking of the other inversions also as choices, and the 5-finger positions that happen between them. Okay, so we started out here, we had this is our 5-finger position here. If we did this inversion, we would have all of those, and then we have our root position. So if I just played the left hand G, and I'm not going to move to the C yet, I'm going to show you what all I can do with my right hand using the different inversion patterns and the 5-finger positions of each one. Okay, so it's not really going fast. It's just moving with all of those different inversions and all of those 5-finger positions that are in between. So let's see what just doing a G chord could be. Okay, so did you see how I kind of went up with my inversions and used my 5-finger positions for each one? So that was just for a G chord. So then for a C chord, okay, so again, I used a root position here, and I popped up and did root position here, and then I did this inversion and all of the 5-finger positions there. Do the same thing for A minor. Then we do the same thing for D. Okay, so you can kind of see where I'm coming up with those different shapes for my hand. I'm not just picking and choosing randomly. I know what the chords are, I know what the inversions are, and thus I know what the 5-finger positions are for each of the chords. Because of that, that opens up all of the notes of the scale. So the only thing that I can't play then is the F, because that's going to sound strange with our chord progression. So now that you understand where those are coming from, I'm now going to put the entire thing together, and we're going to see, I'll go through the chord progression just a couple of times so you can see the looping nature of it, and we're going to hear what this final product is going to sound like.
I love that chord progression. It is absolutely beautiful, and it translates into all of the different keys. You could just take the numbers, go into each of the keys, and figure out what chords they are. If that's something that's a little bit intimidating, don't worry. I upload every single week different chord progressions in different keys so that every time you sit down to play, you will be playing something absolutely beautiful, and the skills will be building on top of one another. Thanks for being here. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and let me know in the comments below if there's anything you'd like me to dive a little bit deeper into, and I'd love to consider doing that. Keep practicing, and I will see you in the next video.